Hello, my yarny friends. I'm Sara Sach, and welcome back to my crochet channel. Today's video, I'm going to show you how to crochet what we're calling our wildflower granny square. It's a 6-inch granny square, and you can see it's a great yarn stash buster because you can use whatever colors, mix and match from your yarn stash and come up with some beautiful granny square flowers. And I think the more colors that you use, the more it looks like a wildflower. So what we're going to do is today we're going to show you how to make the granny square. Then in our next video, I'm going to show you how to take 8 granny squares and make a lovely bag out of those 8 granny squares. So today is part 1, and the next video will be part 2. You don't have to make a bag out of these granny squares though. You can make blankets and of course purses and bags. You can make pillows, scarves, hats, whatever that you want to. Spring table runners would be beautiful. And so that's what we're going to do is today is part 1. We're going to learn how to make the wildflower granny square. And then our next video, part 2, we're going to learn how to join them together and make them into a lovely spring bag. And that spring bag is going to be a 12 by 12 square. And then we'll add a topper, of course, the top edge. So it's going to make it about a 12 by 14 inch bag. And so that's going to be a nice size bag for shopping or just using as your summer purse. Now, the free pattern, of course, is located on my blog. And as always, you can find that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. Now to make our spring flower granny square, you just need some medium weight number 4 acrylic yarns or any yarn fiber that you want, as long as it's a medium weight number 4. I'm using acrylics that I had in my yarn stash. I have a melon here, a blue, some green, some yellow, and then you'll notice I also have 2 purple ones or lavender. And so what you're going to need is a basic color to use when we go to join them as a bag in the next video. And so you're going to need a basic color. Now the entire bag, if you're going to want to know the amount of ounces, adds up to about 5 ounces worth of yarn. And one thing to remember is I'm using 8 squares for my bag. If you want a bigger bag, you could do, twice as many squares, as many as you want, and make the bag as big as you would like. Also, the technique that we're going to be using in joining the squares together is a simple technique, and you can use it to make blankets and scarves or whatever that you want as well. And again, that's for video number 2. All right, so get in your yarn stash, see what colors that you have, whether they're variegated, solids, and just mix and match some beautiful colors together for your granny squares. We're going to be stitching with our eye hook today, which is a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. You need a needle for weaving in ends and your scissors. And I have this nice big button. It's an 1.5 inch button. And we're going to use that when we make the granny bag. We're going to make a little loop at the top and then loop that loop over the button just to hold the bag closed at the top. Of course, we're going to start in the center and work our way out on our granny square. I'm going to begin with this yellow. I think it's pretty. We'll start with our slip knot and chain 5 chains. We're going to join this chain 5 into a circle. So we'll put the tail of yarn over our hook and pull it through that loop. We'll snug that down and then tie a stay knot. If you prefer to use the magic circle or another method for the center of your flower, you certainly can. We're going to put our hook in, pull up a loop, and chain 3. This chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. And now we need to make 15 more, so we have a total of 16 double crochets. So yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, and go through the second 2 loops. You'll also notice that I'm stitching over my tail of yarn, and that's so I can close up that hole when I'm finished so I don't have a hole in the center of my flower. All right, now putting 16 double crochets in the center is going to be a tight fit. So when you get around, you think you don't have enough room, just kind of push it down and keep going. You need 16 double crochets for the center. Whoops. We'll try that one again. So we need 16 double crochets for the center of our flower. All right, let me count and see how many I've stitched. Here's my chain 3, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Scooch those down, get some room in here. 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16 double crochets. We're going to join to that chain 3 with a slip stitch and chain 3. All right, now before we do row 2, we're going to turn this over. We're going to pull on that piece of yarn and we're going to go ahead and weave this in. And I like to go ahead and do it now because it's going to close up that hole for me. There we go. Because we don't want a hole in the center of our flower. There we go. And I'll go ahead and clip that. And so now for row or round number 1, we have 16 double crochets. We joined to our chain 3 and chained 3. Let's do row 2. Now at the beginning of row 2, we only want to chain 2, so let's go ahead and take out one of those chains. Then we're going to double crochet in the next double crochet. We're going to chain 3. And now what we're going to do is we're going to stitch what's called 2 double crochet clusters. And we're going to do that using 2 of our double crochets. Yarn over, go in the next double crochet and pull up a loop. Yarn over and only go through the first 2 loops. Leave those 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over and go in the next double crochet and pull up a loop. Yarn over and only go through the first 2 loops. You'll have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and go through all 3 of those loops. That's our 2 double crochet cluster worked over 2 double crochets. Now we're going to chain 3 and then repeat. All right, I'll do one more. Two double crochet cluster worked over the next 2 double crochets and chain 3. And we'll continue to repeat this till we have 8 of the clusters with our chain 3s in between. I continue to work those 2 double crochet clusters over 2 stitches with chain 3s in between. Kind of looks like a ninja star, doesn't it? All right, so here's our chain 3. We're going to join to that double crochet, not the chain 2. Join to the double crochet with a slip stitch. Okay, and so for row 2, you're going to have 8 of those clusters and 8 of those chain 3s in between. For round 3, we're going to be changing colors. So I'm going to cut the yarn. I'm going to join in my next color. Snug everything down. And I'm going to single crochet between these first 2 stitches. Just 1 single crochet. All right, let's make sure everything's snug down. And on this row, we're going to be forming our petals. And so we're going to stitch 4 double crochets in this chain 3 space. Oops. There we go. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So there's our first petal. We're going to single crochet between the next 2 stitches that are that 2 double crochet cluster. Okay? And then we'll stitch 4 double crochets in the next chain 3 space. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then again, single crochet between those 2 stitches of the double crochet cluster. See how that looks? And we'll continue this all the way around, and we'll have 8 petals. Four double crochets in the chain 3 space and single crochet between those 2 stitches of the double crochet cluster. And we'll continue this around and join back to our single crochet. So I have repeated this, single crochet between the stitches of the cluster, 4 double crochets in each of the chain spaces, so we have 8 petals. We're going to join to that single crochet with a slip stitch. And that's the way that row 3 of our wildflower granny square should look. Now we're ready for row 4. So I'm going to cut my yarn because I'm changing colors again. I'm going to bring in my next color, snug that down, and we're going to be stitching in this single crochet. So we're going to go in, pull up a loop, there we go. We're going to chain 4 and then double crochet in that same single crochet. There we go. And we're going to chain 3, 2, 3. Now we're going to go over to the next single crochet. We're going to completely skip our petal, and we're going to stitch 2 double crochets, 1, 2. We're going to chain 2 and stitch 2 more double crochets in this same single crochet. And what we're doing here on this row is forming the corners and the sides of our square. Alright, so we stitch 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets in that single crochet, and then chained 3. So now we'll come over to our next single crochet, and we'll stitch a double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet. And then we'll chain 3. Alright, let's do the next corner. We'll go to our next single crochet and stitch 2 double crochets, 1, 2. We'll chain 2 and stitch 2 more double crochets in that single crochet, 1, 2, and chain 3. So now we formed our second corner. We'll go to our next single crochet and stitch a double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet, and chain 3. So now we've got 2 corners, and again you can see the square forming. And we'll just repeat what we did here 2 more times. So I stitched those next 2 corners, and now I'm going to join to the chain 3 of the chain 4 with a slip stitch. And then I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch in the center of that 2 double crochet in that chain 1 space. And I'm going to cut my yarn because we're going to change colors one more time. And for row 4, we have our 4 corners of 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets with our chain 3s, and then our sides are a V-stitch, which is a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. So now we're going to bring in our 4th color for row 5. All right, we'll go in that chain 1 space. Make sure everything's snug down. And chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to move to the first chain 3 space and stitch 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're going to chain 2. We'll skip these 2 double crochets and then we'll stitch our corner, which is 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets in the chain 2 space of the corner. We're going to chain 2. We'll skip these 2 double crochets and stitch 4 double crochets in the chain 3 space. This brings us to this V-stitch or double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and we're just going to stitch 1 double crochet in that chain 1 space. And then we'll move right over to the next chain 3 space and stitch 4 double crochets. Now we'll chain 2. And we'll go right over, let me pull that there. There we go. We'll go right to that corner and stitch our corner, which is 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets. 1 and 2, and chain 2. So now we have our second corner, and we're going to repeat this on these other 2 sides and then come back over here to where we started. So I finished stitching around. Here's my last corner here. I chained 2, 4 double crochets in the chain 3 space, and we're going to join to that chain 3 with a slip stitch, and now we're done. I'm going to go behind that next stitch and pull that loop to the back. And yes, we have a little bit of weaving in to do, and it's up to you if you want to do them as you go or you want to weave it in when you're all finished. I like to do each one individually. That way I don't have to worry about it later. Also, if it's not as crisp as you would like it, you can always block it on a blocking board or dampen it and lay it out on a towel and kind of shape it. You don't have to block them. It just makes it a little bit easier when you're putting them together if they're all about the same shape and size. All right, so that is our wildflower granny square. That's a 6-inch granny square. And if you want to make the bag that I'm going to show you in the next video, you're going to need 8 of our wildflower granny squares. All right, now the video won't come out for a couple of days, so that'll give you some time to get your granny squares completed.